My girlfriend texted, "If you really loved me, you'd forgive the betrayal." I replied, "Then I don't." Then I changed the locks. She called it one mistake, but I had the screenshots, the hotel receipt, and her sister's warning. By morning, her bags were outside, and her perfect cover story was already falling apart. Original post: I am Caleb, 33. My girlfriend was Alyssa, 29. We had been together almost 3 years, and she had lived in my townhouse in Charlotte for 8 months. The mortgage and bills were in my name. She paid me $600 a month, even though half the real cost was closer to $1,200. I never pushed it. I was a logistics manager near the airport. She worked as a sales coordinator for a furniture showroom in South End. We were not rich, but we were stable. For most of the relationship, I thought stable was what we were building toward. Then she started using that word like an insult. "You are too stable, Caleb. You plan everything like an old man. Sometimes I feel like I am already married to a spreadsheet." At first, I laughed it off. I am organized. I keep receipts, remember appointments, and do not disappear for 12 hours and call it spontaneity. She used to like that. Then she rolled her eyes at it. The real shift happened after a work conference in Atlanta. She went for 3 days with coworkers, including Mason. I had met him once at a holiday party. He had the confidence of a man who thought every room was waiting for him to speak. Alyssa said he was harmless. When she came home from Atlanta, she was different. Not dramatic, not obvious, just different. Phone face down, longer showers, more team drinks because everyone was stressed, more smiles at her screen than quick locks when I entered. I noticed. I did not accuse. I asked once if everything was okay between us. She said, "You are doing that thing again." "What thing?" "Acting like I owe you a report," so I backed off. 2 weeks later, her younger sister, Riley, messaged me on Instagram. Riley and I were not close, but we were friendly. She wrote, "Caleb, I do not want to get involved, but you need to ask Alyssa about Atlanta. Please do not say I told you." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I did something Alyssa always mocked me for. I checked the receipts, not her phone, not her email. Mine. My credit card statement. She had used our shared card for a rideshare in Atlanta, which was normal because we used that card for household stuff and paid it from my account. But the ride was at 118 in the morning, from a hotel that was not the conference hotel to the conference hotel. The hotel name meant nothing until I searched it. A boutique hotel downtown, then another charge nearby. Late-night bar, 2 drinks, 1 dessert, not conference catering, not work dinner. I still did not explode. I waited until she got home. She walked in around 8:40 that night, carrying takeout and acting cheerful in that bright way people act when they are rehearsing. I said, "We need to talk about Atlanta." Her face changed for half a second. Then it hardened. She put the bag on the counter and said, "No, we do not." I said, "Riley messaged me." That was the first crack. She whispered, "Of course she did." I asked, "Did something happen with Mason?" She crossed her arms and said, "It was complicated." That is when I knew, not maybe. Not suspicion, knew. I said, "How complicated?" She started with the usual script. We had been drifting. She felt unseen. Mason listened. It was one night. She regretted it. She loved me. She loved our life. She made a terrible mistake. I listened, quietly. Then I asked if it happened once. She looked at the floor. I asked again. She said Atlanta was once. That answer was too careful, I said, and after Atlanta. She cried harder. There it was, 3 times. 1 hotel in Atlanta. 2 afternoons at his apartment while she told me she was helping with showroom inventory. I did not yell. I did not call her names. I did not throw anything. I just stood up and said, "Okay." She panicked then. "Okay, that is all you have to say." I said, "Yes, you need to leave tonight." She said I was being cold. That adults talk through betrayal. That real love forgives. That if I really loved her, I would not throw away 3 years over mistakes. I said, "Alyssa, mistakes are forgetting milk." This was planning. She left to stay with her friend Kelsey. At 11:06 p.m., she sent the text that made everything simple. If you really loved me, you would forgive the betrayal. I replied, then I do not. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. I added, your things will be boxed by morning. Bring Kelsey or Riley to pick them up. Do not come alone. Then I changed the locks, because my house had stopped feeling like mine. I packed until 3 a.m. Clothes in suitcases, makeup in clear bags, shoes in boxes. The framed photo of us at Myrtle Beach went on top, wrapped in a towel. I was not cruel, I was done. By sunrise, her belongings were in the garage, lined up in neat rows. At 712, she called 23 times. I did not answer. At 830, Kelsey texted, "This is insane. She made a mistake and you are acting like she burned your house down." I sent one screenshot, Alyssa's text. Kelsey stopped replying. Update 1 4 days later, the first 4 days were a storm wearing perfume. Alyssa did not come with Kelsey to pick up her things. She sent Kelsey and Riley. Riley looked embarrassed before she even stepped out of the car. Kelsey looked ready for war until she saw the boxes. Everything was packed, nothing broken, nothing missing. I had printed a list because I am apparently the villain who makes inventory sheets. Kelsey said, "You really had time to make a list." I said, "Yes." Riley read it, then looked at Kelsey and said, "He is not lying. This is all hers." They loaded the car in 2 trips. Riley waited until Kelsey was inside before speaking to me. I said, "Did you know before Atlanta?" Riley shook her head. After the second time. She said Alyssa was confused. I told her to end it or tell you. She said I was judging her. I thanked her. She started crying, so I just said, "Drive safe." That night, Alyssa emailed me a 5-paragraph apology. It had all the right words in the wrong order. "I hurt you. I hate myself. I was lonely. Mason meant nothing. You are punishing me because you want control. I hope someday you realize love is not black and white." That was the theme of the week. Apparently, boundaries were control. Consequences were cruelty. Silence was emotional abuse. On day 2, Mason called me from a number I did not know. I almost did not answer, but I was waiting on a call from a vendor at work. He said, man to man, "I think this got bigger than it needed to." I said, "Mason, the only conversation I would have with you is in a lawyer's office if you keep calling me." He laughed like I was being dramatic. I hung up. 10 minutes later, he texted, "She said you two were basically broken up." I replied, "That is interesting because she was sleeping in my bed the same week." He did not respond. That afternoon, Alyssa posted a photo on Instagram. Black background, white text. "Sometimes people abandon you when you need grace the most." I got 6 messages before dinner. Her coworker Talia, "I do not know what happened, but please be kind. She is really hurting." My cousin Owen, "Dude, what is going on? Alyssa is making it sound like you kicked her out with nothing." A mutual friend named Brooke, "Just checking on you, but also checking that you are not doing something you will regret." I sent the same answer to everyone. Alyssa cheated. She admitted it. Her things were returned. I am not discussing it further. Most people stopped. Brooke did not. She asked if there was proof. "Not because she doubted me," she said, "just because people were asking." I sent her the screenshot where Alyssa literally used the word betrayal. Brooke replied, "Oh, that is pretty clear." By day 3, Alyssa changed tactics. She showed up at my office, at the front reception area, wearing the navy dress I once told her looked professional. The receptionist, Tanya, called my extension and said a woman was asking for me. I told Tanya to say I was unavailable. 5 minutes later, Tanya called again and whispered, "She says she is your fiancé." I almost laughed. I walked to the front with my operations director, Grant. Alyssa stood there holding a coffee like this was a movie scene where the couple finally talks. She said, "Can we please not do this in public?" I said, "Exactly. Leave my workplace." Her eyes flicked to Grant. Grant said, "Ma'am, if you have business here, we can help you. If not, you need to go." She started crying, quietly at first, then loudly enough for 2 drivers in the lobby to look over. I said, "Alyssa, leave." She whispered, "You are really going to let strangers watch you humiliate me?" I said, "You came here. Grant walked her out. That evening, I bought a $149 doorbell camera, changed my garage code, and blocked her email. I slept 7 hours that night, first time in months. Update 2 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later, Alyssa's version of the story had evolved into something creative. At first, she made a mistake. Then I was emotionally unavailable. Then we were secretly separated. Then I threw her out because I was looking for an excuse to date someone else. By the time it reached me, I had apparently controlled her money, isolated her, and tracked her phone. None of that was true. She had her own job, car, bank account, and more friends than I had patience for. But lies travel faster when they cry. The flying monkeys came in waves. Kelsey sent a long message saying I needed to give Alyssa closure. I replied she got closure when she got Mason's hotel room key. Blocked. Talia messaged me on LinkedIn, which felt like a new level of desperate. She wrote that Alyssa was struggling at work and that my coldness was affecting her performance. I replied, her performance stopped being my responsibility when she performed at a boutique hotel in Atlanta. Blocked. Mason tried one more time, this time through Venmo. He sent me a request for $1 with the note, "Be mature and talk to her." I declined and screenshotted it. Then came the fake crisis. At 6:13 on a Tuesday morning, I got a call from a number marked private. I ignored it, then a voicemail came through. It was Alyssa, breathing hard, crying. She said she might be pregnant. I sat on the edge of my bed and listened twice. Not because I believed it, because I wanted to hear the exact wording. Might be, could be, needed support, could not go through this alone. We had not been intimate for almost 6 weeks before the breakup because she had been avoiding me and calling it stress. Also, she had an IUD. If there was a pregnancy, Mason had better odds. I did not call back. I emailed one sentence from a new account because I wanted documentation. If you are pregnant and believe I am involved, communicate only through legal channels with medical confirmation. She replied within 12 minutes, "You are disgusting. I cannot believe you think I would lie about that." I saved it. 2 days later, Riley texted me. "I know you blocked everyone, but she is not pregnant. She bought a test and never took it. Mom found it in the trash still wrapped." I thanked Riley, then asked her not to update me anymore unless it involved my safety or property. I meant that. I was tired of living inside Alyssa's weather system, so I got busy. I took an extra certification course for work. Grant had been pushing me toward regional planning, and I finally said yes. I started running again at Freedom Park. Slow, embarrassing, but steady. I repainted the living room clean gray because Alyssa had insisted on warm beige. I also went to dinner with Brooke, not a date at first. She was one of the few people who asked what actually happened instead of choosing the loudest story. We met at a barbecue place near Plaza Midwood and talked for 2 hours. No drama. No tests. Alyssa found out within a week. Of course she did. The next Saturday, I went to a local brewery with Brooke and a few friends. Alyssa showed up 20 minutes later with Kelsey. Total coincidence, I am sure. She saw Brooke and smiled like she had been waiting to perform. She walked to our table and said, "Wow, that was fast." I said, "Alyssa, walk away." Brooke stayed quiet. Alyssa looked at her and said, "Just so you know, he abandons women when things get hard." Brooke said, "Just so you know, I have seen the texts." That shut her up for about 3 seconds. Then Alyssa threw her drink. It hit the table more than anyone, but some splashed on Brooke's sleeve. Security moved fast. The manager asked Alyssa to leave. She screamed that I ruined her life. That Brooke could have me. That Mason was more of a man anyway. I said nothing. The manager asked if I wanted police called. I said yes. The officer took statements. The brewery had cameras. Alyssa got a trespass warning, not an arrest, but paperwork. The next morning, I filed a police report for harassment and started the process for a protective order. I was not angry anymore. I was bored. Final update: 2 months later, the protective order hearing was on a rainy Monday at Mecklenburg County Courthouse. Alyssa arrived wearing a cream sweater and no makeup, supposedly to look soft and misunderstood. Kelsey sat behind her. Riley sat on the other side of the room with their mother, Natalie. I did not know Natalie would come. My folder was thick: text screenshots, emails, Venmo notes, doorbell footage stills, the office incident summary from Grant, the brewery trespass warning, the fake pregnancy voicemail transcript, every piece of chaos printed and labeled. Again, spreadsheet villain. Alyssa brought feelings. She said I cut her off cruelly after a difficult relationship moment. She had made one mistake. I had turned everyone against her, and she came to my workplace only because I refused to communicate. The brewery incident was embarrassing but not threatening. The pregnancy message was a panic attack. The judge listened, calmly. Then he looked at my folder and read the text out loud. If you really loved me, you would forgive the betrayal. He asked Alyssa, did you write this? She said yes, but it was taken out of context. The judge asked, what context changes the word betrayal? She did not answer. He reviewed the workplace incident, the private number voicemail, Mason's Venmo request, the brewery report, Talia's LinkedIn messages, and the Instagram posts implying I was abusive without naming me. Then he said something I will remember for a long time. A breakup is not a negotiation after one person has ended contact. You are not entitled to force a conversation because you dislike the consequence. The order was granted for 1 year. No contact. No coming to my home, workplace, or anywhere she knew I would be. 500 feet. Alyssa cried when he said it. Kelsey glared like I had invented accountability. Outside the courtroom, Natalie stopped near me. I thought she might yell. I was ready for it. Instead, she said, Caleb, I am sorry. Riley showed me the messages. I raised her better than this, but she has to decide to be better. I said, I hope she does. That was the last time I saw Alyssa in person. A month after the hearing, Grant offered me the regional planning position. It came with a $9,000 raise and more normal hours. I accepted. Brooke and I are still seeing each other. Slowly, carefully. She does not call honesty neediness or peace boring. She asks direct questions and gives direct answers. It feels strange in the best way. My house is quiet now. The beige walls are gone. The garage has my tools organized the way I like them. The spare closet is empty except for winter coats and cables I should throw away. There is no secret phone glow on the couch. No rehearsed cheerfulness at the kitchen counter. I learned something through all of this. Betrayal is not just the act, it is the insult after. It is the person who breaks your trust, then demands that your love become a broom. Sweep it up. Hide the pieces. Pretend nobody got cut. Alyssa did not want forgiveness. She wanted permission to keep the version of herself where she was still a good person, and I was cruel for noticing the damage. I would rather be called cold than be warm enough to burn myself twice. If you have faced something similar, or if you think I handled this wrong, tell me your opinion in the comments. Please subscribe for more stories, like this video if it kept you watching, and share it with someone who needs to hear that walking away from betrayal is not weakness.